All right, so welcome back, folks, to the Wanneroo channel. And today we're taking a look at the Lee app press. Just kind of some first impressions. I think at some point down the road I might kind of do a full review on it and kind of go through all the different things you can do with it, with the exception of bullet sizing, which I have no plans on doing. But I have I bought it back in the fall about 4 or 5 months ago, and I've already used it to resize a couple thousand 9mm cases, and also probably about 2,300 blackout cases. We have it set up here right now for resizing 45 ACP. So when this came out on the market, you know, I was super excited because I was like, hey, one thing I've always wanted is, like, can someone make a single stage press that is, you know, practically not really automated, but it's like a rapid fire single stage press. And Lee kind of answered my prayers, so to speak. And when I saw this, I'm like, hey, I got to have it. And overall, I have to say it is brilliant, but it is also flawed, as we see a lot of times in the world with different things. You're going to have something that's quite brilliant, but yet there is also some flaws with it. Overall, great product. It is just kind of a bit finicky sometimes, and I don't really know yet if there are all of the solutions for it. A lot of it I just have kind of just struggled through at different times just to keep it going and keeping it working. When it's working and you have it set up good and nothing's giving you a problem, then it blazes through brass. Awesome press. So you know, in that respect, it's great. You know, for me, one of the things that I like to do is I like to decap my brass before I get it anywhere near the progressive press, because I like, whenever I do my cleaning, I like to get the primer pockets clean. And then the other thing too is that I found with reloading is that a lot of times you end up kind of wasting a lot of time in the processing stage. And so with this, you can swage primer pockets, you can swage bullets if you want to, or resize bullets. You can do brass resizing, you can do brass expanding, which I've used it to expand pistol brass. And so it kind of really helps with some of those things, because then you can really focus on the powder and seating the bullet and all that. And you spend your time doing that rather than just brass processing. So like right now here, I have it set up for 45 ACP. So you can see, oh, we already have it bound up. There we go. So some of the issues that I've run into with this is that sometimes right up here, it'll kind of bind up and you'll have to kind of almost click it into place. The other thing is that the brass holders, a lot of times these tend to kind of rotate on the base, and so on its own it'll kind of like spin around and kind of get out of shape, and then you end up having to kind of go back in there like I did with my fingers to kind of reset it. And there it got bound up again. So let's make sure it's in there good. So last night, actually, and that's the thing with this, last night, it was running like a freight train. Okay, so no problems. The other thing I found with it too is that you have to use kind of a very positive throw with it as well. Kind of chuck it out of there and kind of keep it moving. So if you kind of do it real slow, and that may have been part of the problem. The other thing I've run into with this is not so much maybe the press itself, but obviously you have to feed the brass into it. So I got there, I can't remember the name of it, basically their universal case feeder with the collator bowl. And you can use what comes with the press, or you can buy this separate, which is what I did. I don't like the bowl that comes with it. It just, you always end up getting one or two, no matter what they say, you know, do this or that, with shaking the brass down into these tubes here. There's always one that ends up going down the wrong way or whatever. So I just end up kind of manually filling them myself, and then whenever I need to switch, you just rotate this right here and switch it around, but you do end up having to fill it, you know, manually by hand. So, but that's another thing that comes into this, is kind of getting this set up. You have this this bolt here with a couple of wing nuts, and I think it would be awesome if you had some sort of case feeding system with this, where it was easily adjustable. And I think they did this for cost, because it costs pennies to basically do this with these bolts, and so they can keep the cost down. But I can definitely see for an aftermarket where, because you do have to kind of vary the height of this depending on the brass. So it's one of those things where I could definitely see the aftermarket coming in and having something that's nicely adjustable, or some kind of automatic case feeder or something. Okay, that's one area I could see with it. The other thing I find that happens is this spring here, you do have to watch. A lot of times if it gets twisted around that way, you'll run into problems. And even with the spring right here, sometimes whenever you hook it back up to this hook right here, you'll end up having to, it might be on the wrong way or whatever, and you'll have to kind of flip it around and hook it on there and try it that way. So sometimes even the spring can get kind of testy. The other thing I've found with this actual rail that this plastic piece runs on, that also too, sometimes when you get any sort of dirt or material, that can end up kind of causing problems and binding you up. I saw in a YouTube video someone was using mineral oil. So back in the fall I used that sometimes, but then the mineral oil tends to kind of pick up, you know, debris, and then after a while it just kind of gums up, and so then I ran into that issue. So, and then the other thing that can happen with this, we're getting quite a long list, aren't we, is they give you these risers depending on the case itself. I've had issues with these kind of sliding off or popping off, and then you end up getting this whole nasty jam in here and all that. That said, I do love it. Like I said, it is brilliant when it's running good. It is awesome. I mean, you can just blaze through the brass, eat the brass up, and boom, 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 and get that brass process. So, like for instance, if I'm doing a certain pistol cartridge or something, and I don't want to have to hook it up to my progressive press and set all that up and everything, because I might only be doing a couple hundred, I could do my processing here, you know, with resizing and expanding, and boom, 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 knock it out really fast, and then get everything hand primed and set up for the single stage press. You know, if I'm only doing a couple hundred cases, I don't want to go through the hassle. Like if I'm doing 357 Magnum and I'm loading like 200 or 300 cases, I don't want to have to set my progressive press up. And you know, by the time I finish fiddle farting with everything and getting it set up, you know, I may as well just do this. You know, and undoing everything. Like I'm always constantly making 9mm on the progressive, you know. So why do I want to have to undo all the 9mm stuff and then hook up all the 357 mag stuff and all that, and mess with all that, you know? That's why even a lot of folks I see end up buying a bunch of progressive presses and then setting them up for all these individual calibers. But anyways, so we have it set up here for resizing 45 ACP. So we'll just see if we can run through some here real quick without any issues and knock them out. So right now I'm going good, not giving me any problems. But you can see whenever it's going good, you know, it knocks those babies out one after another. You can imagine if you're doing this on a single stage, you know, how long all this would take. Okay. So then once we get to this point right here, I just check to make sure that riser is on there good. Everything's looking good. So now I can go ahead and rotate this, and we move on to the next stack. So So, and this handle right here works pretty good. I could see where probably, you know, you could make a more comfortable arm or handle for that. Overall, I would say for most people, you know, it works pretty good without any big issues. So pretty easy to use. You know, like I went through and decapped a whole bunch of 9mm brass, and I just, you know, blazed through thousands of them super fast with no problems whatsoever. And 300 blackout, did a bunch of resizing with that. Did have a number of issues though with different jams and brass binding up. And so I think a lot of it comes down to getting this set up and getting this dialed in, and then not having any issues with this track right here. So another potential problem that could have been basically my fault in a sense was a lot of the brass that I was running through here was some kind of dirty. Wasn't like excessively dirty because I wouldn't do anything like that, but like whenever I was decapping the 9mm brass, the brass had been cleaned, but it wasn't, you know, perfect. The people that I bought it from, they kind of cleaned it, but it wasn't like perfect, and it had like you know, the little bits that you get whenever you do the what do they call that with the brass cleaning, the dry tumbling, that walnut stuff or whatever they use, you know, had kind of a bit of that, so that might have caused issues with this binding up. So, like I said, at some point I might kind of do a full review and then kind of show kind of a wide-ranging spread of the different things you can do with it. But this is just kind of my first impressions after using it for a bit. And I'm sure that there's going to be people out there. I've already heard that people have made, instead of plastic ones of these things right here, they've done them up in metal and stuff. And so that might be worth looking at, and I'm sure Lee will probably update the press or come out with different things. I guess one advantage is that if some of this plastic stuff does break, looking at Lee's website for parts, they're dirt cheap. So, you know, the way I even kind of look at it is I love the press so much that even if these parts broke every year, it would be worth it just to chuck them and put new parts on. Because when this press is running good, you can just blaze right through the brass. So one thing I'm going to be setting it up for soon is swaging 9mm, because the issue with that is I'm going to be using S&B small pistol primers, and they seem to be a bit more finicky, maybe a little bit wider than the CCI small pistol primers, and can be kind of a pain seating. So I want to make sure all my primer pockets are nice and uniform and there's no issues. So when I put it on the progressive press, I'm not going to have jams and stuff. So I'll be setting it up soon for swaging once I finish with 45 ACP. And we'll see how the swaging tool works with this. So that'll be interesting to do. So I'll probably do more videos on this press in the future. Whatever I kind of run through here so people can see how it works, and just to kind of, you know, show my experiences with it, and you know, how it all goes. So I would say overall, if you do a lot of processing of brass and you're doing things like we'll see how the swaging works, but decapping your brass, if you're like me where you like to get it nice and the primer pockets nice and clean before you put it on the progressive, resizing quantities of brass, you know, especially pistol brass and stuff, even expanding the case necks on pistol brass, which I've already used it to do, stuff like that. This is where this press will just save you so much time, and I do love it, but it does have those little issues when it decides to be temperamental. So like I said, maybe over time people will come up with solutions for that or whatever it might be. So anyways, we'll go ahead and call it quits here about the 15-minute mark. We have a lot more videos coming soon, and not only will we do some reloading, but there will be some shooting stuff too, because I like interesting firearms and machine guns. Also, there could be potentially some stuff that'll be a surprise too. Some different things perhaps with high performance driving, investing, and you know, different things in that area in terms of living a fulfilling life. And so, yeah, there's a lot more to come. Travel, all kinds of stuff. So pretty much I'll be kind of sharing the different things that I do, and you know, just kind of putting some good information out there from my own experiences and knowledge. So anyways, I hope everyone's enjoying it. Any questions or comments, feel free to leave below. And you know, thanks for watching, everyone. Like, share, and subscribe. It helps the algorithm, so other folks out there might find it in the search results, and we can add more subscribers and do more stuff. So thanks, everyone, and y'all have a good one.